You're recording?
Yes.
I had, like, in my mind, I had this bit ready for a cold open, like 2 days ago. You're looking at me longingly like you're expecting me to tell you, but what I'm saying is I completely forget what the opening bit was supposed to be in my head.
Oh, I was going to say, I'm an improv expert, so yes and is my motto. So I was ready to yes and you. But
I had a bit ready, and
we are not going to be doing that bit anymore because unfortunately Andrew forgot the bit.
yes, and it's time for the show.
Yes, and it's time for Talking Games with Kellie and Andrew.
Well, you can't say that yet. We're still in the cold open.
Well, they know.
Sorry, everybody. I didn't mean to spoil what this episode was. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Talking Games with Kellie and Andrew. I'm Andrew.
And I'm Kellie.
We should have done I'm Joel, and I'm Ellie.
Oh, I'm Smelly.
Ooh, okay. We got a lot of failed bits in the first chunk of this episode, don't we?
Yeah, not our finest hour.
I almost want to start with the second story, because the second story is all about failure, but I feel like that'd be cheating.
Let's do that. Let's talk about failure first.
Okay.
Let's get it out of the way.
We've never done this, but we're going to read the news stories out of order. I mean, if there's no real reason for them to be in this order other than that's the order I copy pasted them into the sheet with the links. Ubisoft.
Boobisoft?
I left it open so you could say it. They had a meeting with their investors, and they stated that they were very disappointed in the sales of Mario plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope, as well as the new Just Dance entry. They also stated that due to some garbage sales and lowered expectations, they have decided to cancel 3 major projects. These projects were not yet announced, so this is not things that we know about. And they also, buckle up, folks, buckle up, Kellie. They announced that Skull and Bones, I know, yeah, you know what's coming. It's been delayed again to its new release window of April 2023, pretty soon, to April 2024, which is not soon. Wow.
I don't even know what to say.
8th time's the charm on that delay.
I do believe that this is a ship that is perhaps sinking, much like you could have sunk a ship in Skull and Bones if it actually came out this year, which it's not. Actually, I don't think it's ever coming out.
Yeah.
I'm not entirely sure there will ever be a Ubisoft game again, except for Assassin's Creed.
I'm concerned, like, I don't care about Ubisoft per se. There's no, like, games that they have that I'm like, oh, I need to see what this game is. But, like, what's going on over there? It just seems like they're crashing and burning actively.
Yeah, I guess I don't really... Here's my... So, like, Mario and Rabbids, like, I'm not sure a lot of people enjoy Rabbids. I think they're kind of, like, worse minions, which is really already quite the bar to set. So I'm not really sure the audience was quite there for Mario and Rabbids. I will also say Just Dance is a game that now basically thrives off of, like, paid content.
Yeah.
And people don't want to do that. They want to play a dance game where they can just open the game and have as many songs, already in the game that you don't have to pay for. So this is not particularly surprising. I just don't think Ubisoft is very good at management.
Why are there still
anything.
Just Dance games every year?
I know, that's what's weird to me too. Like, you could take Just Dance 2020 or 2021 or whatever. I think I have 2020, and just constantly update it with new songs instead of releasing a new title. But the truth is they want people to pay for a new title, make minuscule changes, and then do a new roster of songs, which then they continue to add to. So like I said, it's just it's like poor management. Everything about Ubisoft is poor management at this point.
I just feel like this speaks bad omens to their future right now. I'm a little bit not worried because I don't care about Ubisoft, but like I have a feeling we may be seeing the final days of Ubisoft as we know it.
Yeah, honestly, I mean, when you cancel 3 games, not just projects, but games, and then delay a game that was supposed to come out in like 4 months, a year, it's a little bit alarming to the point where it's like, okay, maybe you should readjust your priorities.
Well, yeah, because oh my goodness, the last Skull and Bones delay was 6 weeks out, and this Skull and Bones is an underwear brand as well. Sorry. This one is also like less than 12 weeks away.
Yeah, I don't foresee this game ever coming out. Sorry to all you landlubbers who want to be pirates, but you're just going to play another Ubisoft game, Assassin's Creed Black Flag.
Yeah, nothing new.
A superior pirate game. But you also have to be in an Assassin's Creed game, so...
Yeah, you're still losing.
You take the good with the bad.
Yeah.
No offense to anyone who likes Assassin's Creed.
They'll be okay.
They'll be okay. And you know what? Black Flag's not a bad game. I'm just being a hater because it's fun.
Oh.
What is perhaps also fun is a new direct. Is that really what we're calling it?
It's a developer
showcase.
Direct. Is that allowed?
Developer direct. Xbox and Bethesda has announced a showcase/direct, which I'm not sure is copyrighted, for January 25th, which, as of time of recording, is next week, where they're going to be talking about Minecraft Legends, Forza Motorsport, Elder Scrolls Online, and Redfall. Probably Redfall being the most notable of this group. And then a Starfield showcase is confirmed to be getting a separate event later on, which makes sense. I think they'd want to do like a demo event before the game comes out in whenever this year. When is it supposed to come out? Just this year, right?
Yeah, there's no window. I feel like Redfall will have a window after this, but I thought Starfield was coming before Redfall, so this surprised me.
Yeah, I don't really know. I guess since it's Xbox and Bethesda, they can really just do a bunch of stuff at the same time. Because now it's like one big conglomerate, but...
I was just confused, because I thought when they announced this, I was like, oh, cool, like they'll do a nice showcase where they'll talk about a bunch of games. But they're really making it sound like it's going to be just these 4 games. And 2 of these games are out. Like, you can play Elder Scrolls Online and Minecraft Legends actively. Forza Motorsport, I'm really sorry if you're a big Forza fan. It's not that different. And Redfall, I'm curious to see, but I don't know anybody excited to see it. So it doesn't seem like an exciting showcase.
Yeah, I think there's a few things here. I mean, with the Elder Scrolls Online, I would imagine that they might want to try and reformat it a little bit to sort of match the success of Final Fantasy XIV.
Yeah.
It's just, live updates, I feel. And this Minecraft Legends game, I think people would probably watch for Redfall. It's nice that they clarified exactly what games they're talking about, so people who only care about Starfield won't watch this.
Yeah.
People like myself.
You're not going to watch?
Yeah. No, I won't.
Is it at a reasonable time? No.
It's at 3 p.m. Eastern.
No thanks.
Which is kind of a weird... I mean, they all happen at weird times. They all happen at like 4 p.m. It's like, do they not care about people who like get out of work at 5?
No.
Anyway, they don't care. They only care about gamers who don't
work
or work from home.
Yeah.
Which, no hate if you don't work, because I admire you. I wish I didn't have to work.
Yeah, what's your secret?
Every day is suffering.
Okay.
What's my secret? My secret is
not
that
yours.
We have...
The unemployed people.
Oh. Yeah,
no,
I don't have a secret.
You can go. What's your secret?
I don't have a secret.
Should I erase this sponsor read then?
No. My secret is that in this brand spanking new year, we are once again welcoming a familiar face and close friend. We have a very exciting word from our co-sponsor. This episode of Talking Games with Kellie and Andrew is sponsored by Sentry, a new esports organization from the P-Burg, the big yellow bridges, Steel City, baby. Sorry. Their team runs tournaments for Smash and other video games. You know, video games. You guys know those. And you can find them at Twitch, twitch.tv/PGH Sentry. Or you can go to their website, which is smacksentry.gg. That's SMAKSENTRY.gg. And you can find more info about attending events or viewing content or doing both. Thanks again to Sentry for your continued friendship and co-sponsorship. I hope you guys are enjoying the new year over there in the Berg, the Mustard City.
What? No, it's the Ketchup City.
Oh, I'm sorry. Heinz is ketchup. I'm sorry. The Ketchup City.
I got so defensive.
For my egregious error.
I mean, the Heinz isn't even like that Pittsburghy now, but like it's permanent.
I know. What's the new field called? It's not Heinz Field anymore. It's like something weird.
PPG Paints Arena?
Yeah, that's definitely what it's called. I bet friend of the show Cameron Hoover would know this. Oops, I said his full name.
It's called PPG Paints Arena.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I thought you said PP. I thought you were making like a pee-pee poo-poo joke.
Yeah. PP Poo Poo G Paints Arena.
Okay, you'll have to edit out the bit where I reveal friend of the show Cameron's full
let's dox him. Let's dox him. Sorry. Cameron, when we get enormously big, you're going to get all these people reaching out asking how they can contact us.
Yeah.
Kellie, sorry. I'm going to jump ahead to what we've been playing and use our last news story as a little through line.
Oh.
I have now, thanks to the generosity of a friend, an Xbox Series X. He has a PC, and he's like, I don't really want this. Do you want to borrow it? And I'm borrowing it. So I will have it for a little while, and I've been playing it. Obviously, it's not a video game, but this is a video game show, and it's a video game device. So I like it a lot. I think the one thing that has definitely over PS5 is the quick resume feature, so you can have multiple games open at once and then quickly hop between them. And I know that's a small thing, but it's nice to not have to completely reboot certain games. Because, some games have really long startups, and that's annoying. Graphically, I think it's the same thing as the PS5, where it's just nice to have things crisp and in 4K and have fast loading speeds. But since Forza Horizon is like the big graphical showcase that Xbox likes to use, I went ahead and went back and played some Forza Horizon 5, and I was not unimpressed, but I was like, yeah, this is what I'd expect. I'd say it is a device of convenience, and it's not so much exciting as it is just nicer to play than an Xbox One. Because my One X was definitely slow. It had trouble loading certain things. But it's nice to have the Series X now to speed that along. And I took advantage of it by playing very technically demanding game, Immortality, which is not technically demanding. It is a full-motion video game. Immortality follows the story of Marissa Marcel, an actress from the 60s, 70s, and 90s, who went missing. And we don't know why. She was on 3 major movies, and none of them got released due to some weird circumstances. So the movie, it starts by showing you clips of different things, and you can click your Y button or whatever your browse button is on your particular device. And then when you click on something, like let's say you click on a cup, it'll take you to another scene with a cup in it. So the scenes are all made up of raw footage from those movie shoots, as well as a few little clips from like between the scenes. But they're raw, they're unedited, so it always starts with somebody standing in front of the camera with a clapboard and ends with somebody saying cut. And sometimes, like, either before they say cut or before they actually cut the camera, you get some like interesting context about like the actor saying something that you wouldn't expect. And it's really fun to kind of unravel the three stories of these three movies. The three movies are like, one is like a story of religious sexual, what's the word? Scandal? No. No, that is valid, but not this. No, it's like a scandal that's going on, and you're trying to understand what's going on with this religious figure, this religious figure who's in a weird circumstance, and Marissa Marcel plays a peculiar young lady who may or may not be seducing somebody. And then in the second one, it's the story of an artist who was murdered, and it's the investigator trying to figure out who done it. And then the third movie is Marissa Marcel playing both a pop star as well as her body double. All three of the movies are pretty fine. Like if they cut them together as a movie, you'd probably be fine watching them. But what really makes them interesting is unraveling the story, what happened to Marissa, what's happening with the cast, the crew, and there's also some unexpected elements. They really freaked me out when I started to discover them. This game has some like horror game undertones. It's not a horror game, but it spooked me a few times. And I think it's really worth your time. There's an aha moment probably halfway through your playthrough. Realistically, it could happen like 10 minutes in, but I don't think that'll happen. Took me about half my 5-hour playthrough to discover it. And that moment is really when things start to go crazy and it gets really interesting. It's mechanically a bit flawed. I don't think it's a perfect game, but ultimately it's an exciting experience, and I do recommend it a lot, especially if you have Game Pass. It's only on Series X and PC. I don't know why it's not on Xbox One, but it's a really interesting experience. They also put it out on Netflix, like the mobile phone or the mobile game store, so you can play it on your phone. I don't promise that it'll work well. I don't know how that works, but it's a really interesting experience that I think is worth checking out if you have any interest in like unraveling mysteries or just seeing what a full motion video game looks like in 2020. Well, it's 2023 now, but that came out in 2022. Kelly,
nice. Yes.
I remember last week when we did like the catch up of all the games we played over break.
Yes.
Yeah, I forgot one. I played Callisto Protocol over the break.
Oh.
I didn't like it. I thought it was trudging and visually like pretty good, but I lost interest pretty quick. And the combat didn't feel good, and the shooting didn't feel good, and the puzzles didn't particularly feel good. So I dropped that like a rock, a really, really heavy and also like boiling hot rock.
Oh.
Anyway, I didn't like it. That's all I gotta say. Sorry, everybody.
It's good. It's succinct.
Two more. One I already talked about a bit, and that is Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. I finished it. I thought it was a really fun romp. The back half was a lot better than the first half. There was a lot less of the annoying backtracking that I had a problem with last week. I think that the story was fine, a little bit held back by the fact that it's chained to Star Wars lore elements that I'm not so keen on, but I ultimately had a great time anyway, and I really appreciated what they were going for. I'm going to play the sequel. That's like, it was good enough that it has definitely gotten me on board for the sequel. I don't know if I'll play it day one, but I'm really interested, and I thought that they did a great job. The combat was super fun, especially in the latter chunks. Like the bosses and stuff were really cool. Yeah, great time. I already talked about it last week, so I'm not gonna stick to that too much. But the last thing I played this week, I've been gaming. Like, wow. I finished Immortality, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, and Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe. Did you ever play Stanley Parable?
No, I did not.
You should. Anyway.
I've seen videos of it, but I haven't played it myself.
I won't say a lot, because this game relies a lot on the reveals that it does through the game, but it's kind of like a meta commentary on games. It came out 10 years ago, which blows my mind, and this Ultra Deluxe port came out last year and added quite a bit of new content. It's really funny. It's incredibly well written. The gameplay is pretty minimal. It's sort of like one of the Pioneer walking simulators, but it is genuinely very funny, and it also pokes and prods at game design in a way that I didn't expect, and it really lands the punches. I will not spoil any specifics except for one bit that I think would get you interested if you weren't already. There is a scene where the narrator's talking to you, because the narrator talks through the entire game, telling you what to do, and sometimes you defy him, and that's when it gets interesting. But I was in a room, and there was a timer counting down, and it was basically like, okay, so when this timer goes down, hit 0, ba-dum-bum, like it's over. And I was like, uh-oh, I got to figure out how to get out of this situation. So I, the player, start running in circles around this room, and there's like 100 buttons in this room and computer screens, and I'm literally just walking up to things and click, 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 nothing working. Click, click, trying to figure it out. Click, click. And the narrator, while he's like going on this monologue, is just like, and you're just sitting here walking in circles, clicking every button like you think it's going to do anything. And I was just like, whoa.
They kind of got you.
Yeah, how did he know I was doing that? And I'm like, well, because probably 95% of players did exactly that. Like, they used their gamer instincts to be like, gotta figure out what I gotta do. But it really that was the moment I was like, wow, this game, like, knows what it's saying, and it does it really well. And it's funny. If it wasn't funny, I don't think I'd have enjoyed the commentary, but I thought it was hilarious. And the Ultra Deluxe port took me about 4 hours, and I had a great time. Definitely recommend checking it out. Either the Ultra Deluxe port or the original. Either way is going to serve you well.
Serve and slay. And eat.
And I got no transitions. Sorry, Kelly, I talked about so many freaking games. It's your turn.
That's okay. If you can believe it, the game that I was playing last week is like 100 billion hour game. So I'm still playing it. I'm still playing Persona 5 Royal. I do believe that will be put on pause this week as I embark on a new Fire Emblem journey. And then I'll probably finish Persona 5. And then I'll probably play Persona 3, which will be a very painful experience going from 5 to 3 gameplay. But that's okay. Because I'm in it for the love of the game, not for the joy, but for the love.
Not to have fun, but to fulfill a necessity.
Exactly. And then, who knows, maybe I'll play 4. I mean, the world is really my oyster with Game Pass. And I'm not a shill. I'm not a corporate shill. I'm just saying.
Game Pass is
that's
cool.
pretty much all I played this week. But I did watch something this week. Perhaps you watched it as well. A little HBO home box office original called The Last of Us, starring Pedro Pascal and Bella Ramsey. Yeah, keep going. It's pretty good.
Should I go through the whole 5-minute song or?
Definitely.
Nope,
no. Just kidding. So this was a pretty long. It was the premiere episode. It was pretty long. It was like an hour and 20 minutes.
Yeah, that took me by surprise. I didn't realize it was a feature length premiere.
I thought, well, usually it's just an hour, but HBO was really like, whatever, take it.
It served it well though. Like, the length was, I think, one of the strongest points, because it's not the most faithful adaptation as far as specifics, but the way that it expands, it surprised me how truly dire circumstances felt like as they revealed the world starting to crumble, the outbreak starting. The game's good. The game does a really good job of making the outbreak start feel really tense and uncomfortable, but this was like almost horror movie levels of like tensity. Even though I know what was going to happen, it was so tense.
Yeah, I thought so there were a lot of like little things expanded on. We got more time with Sarah in the beginning, which I thought was a really, really good choice. Mm-hmm. I kind of had a feeling they were going to do that just because in the game you really don't have a lot of time to get close to her. And I think that expanding on her character and also giving her a little bit more awareness as to what's going on. Like, in the game, it's really like Sarah's just living her life, and then all of a sudden it's like zombies, surprise. But in the show, I thought they did a really good job of sort of like showing it felt like eerily realistic. Just the way that, she went to school. And I thought one little bit that was really good that I haven't seen anybody talk about is there's a part when she's at school and she's like writing something on her desk, and this light keeps like shining at her.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one of her classmates has a bracelet and the light's reflecting off of it. And obviously that mirrors later in the episode when, the light's like shining on them.
Yeah.
At the sort of emotional climax of the episode, so to speak. I thought that was really good. And I just felt like having more time with her definitely made a bigger impact in terms of what happens.
Yeah.
And, I think the actress Nico Parker, who portrayed her, did a really, really good job with such a, I don't want to say small role because I don't think it's small. It's obviously one of the most important aspects of Joel's character, if not the most important. But she had a very limited time.
Yeah.
So I thought she did a great job. I thought everybody did a really great job. And I think that there were, as far as adaptations go, I actually think that there's a lot of loyalty to the source material, obviously, because Neil Druckmann is involved directly, executive producing and, writing and co-creating. But there are like little things that I was just like shocked at how, like, there's a part where Bella Ramsey like speaks and her voice sounds just like
I heard that too.
And it's like, wow. And it's interesting. Well, I guess we'll see in later episodes play out, but as I was looking at their face, they look so much like Ashley Johnson sometimes that I'm like, well, I guess we'll see that expanded on. But anyway, I thought everybody did a really good job. I love Anna Torv. I think she's a great actress. She did a great job with Tess. I can't even talk about Pedro Pascal. So I won't.
I will.
Be quiet.
How about
I'm gonna be quiet.
Do you want me to take that?
Yeah, I don't think I should say anything.
Okay.
For the sake of my own public image.
Okay. He did a good job. Anyway, moving on. No, he does capture the role. I was always worried about this adaptation because I have such a clear image in my head of what Joel and Ellie should be, what they should look like, what they should sound like, what they should act like. So seeing a new actor portray that made me nervous. I think Pedro Pascal as well as Bella Ramsey kind of strike this perfect balance of creating a new character as well as honoring what came before. Like Joel's character in the opening chunk of the game compared to Pedro Pascal's opening chunk of the television series are quite a bit different. But then there's points like the major inciting incident that we won't spoil here, but that moment was so similar to the game. And I was honestly like floored with how well Pedro Pascal captured the energy of that scene. Because, obviously an adaptation doesn't have to be one-to-one, but that scene had to be one-to-one because that is one of the most important scenes in video games media,
Yes.
And he just did such an exceptional job of capturing that. And I think for me, what really, like, they're building upon things that I didn't expect. Like, I'm a lot more interested in the quarantine zone. I'm a lot more interested in what FEDRA, like the new military government, is doing, like how they function. The Fireflies are being presented a lot different, even though they are the same group. There's like, you get a more broad understanding of what they are. And they're adding context in places that we didn't know would be helpful. When you meet Ellie in the video game, she is just already with Marlene, and Joel takes custody of Ellie to complete a mission. In this, we get context about how Marlene and Ellie ended up being together because, we know now that they weren't just together to begin with. Ellie was in the quarantine zone, so it's interesting to find that out. There's a lot of little things. Also, shout out to the actress for Marlene. I didn't know till yesterday. I think we knew this, but I forgot that it's the same actor as the game. And, like, that cannot be an easy thing to transition. Like, playing a character in a mocap studio with a bunch of balls on your body versus playing it in an actual set in person. That must be such a challenging transition to make, but she knocked it out of the park.
Yeah. And plus it's like 10 years later, you know? She originally recorded that like 10 plus years ago.
Probably like probably like 2010 she recorded that.
Yeah. So it's like it would be really hard to pick that back up right from where you left off. But yeah, I agree. I thought she did a great job. I think her name is Merle Dandridge. But I would agree, and I will talk about Pedro a little bit because I feel bad not talking about him.
You got it.
I thought he did a really great job. I was kind of glad he didn't try to do that one-to-one Southern twang that Troy Baker does.
Yeah.
I don't think that it fits his version of Joel very well. But I thought he did a great job. I'm a big fan of his on many levels. Okay. Sorry.
Let it out for 1 second.
I'm a big fan of him. I'm a big fan of looking at him. I'm sorry. No, he did a great job as Joel. I'm really excited to see as the relationship expands. I'm excited to see how he'll develop, because obviously the biggest part of The Last of Us Part 1 is his relationship with Ellie and how that evolves and how he changes as a character. And, we saw change already in him from just this first episode alone, from sort of the pre-outbreak Joel to the Joel that he is now. I also liked that they sort of confirmed his relationship with Tess. That was always something that I found very compelling in the game. And I'm kind of glad that they were like, yeah, we're doing it.
Yeah.
We're doing it.
They did it subtly, though. It wasn't like there was like some terribly
They weren't just
R-rated
like boning
scene.
on the... Yeah. Sorry, that was... You can edit that out.
Nope, I'm leaving that in. No, it's subtle. She just like leans on his back in a way that you're like, oh, that's a romantic involvement.
Yeah, and he was the little spoon, which honestly feels very right to me.
Yeah. Also, there's like a lot of talk about like substances and like trauma and stuff that definitely... Obviously, Joel in the game had trauma, but there are moments where like the trauma really hits him in this series that I'm like, that's interesting, Joel being truly shocked by like a light in his face because it reminds him of an earlier incident, and then reacting brashly. Brashly is a nice word for what he did. Reacting very violently. That's surprising, I didn't expect it to happen how it did.
Yeah, I loved that part.
Well, you shouldn't say that.
Why? I thought it was cool.
I loved the part with all the blood and
well, come on.
yes.
It's like
I love the way it's
about
written
him,
too.
and we see his like barely restrained like fury the entire episode. It's like he's got all this like angry tension post outbreak, and we never really see that until the very end. And then you're like, oh my god, like he's like off the rocker, you know what I mean? But I don't want to say it was cathartic, because it wasn't for the guy that got his face. Well, anyway, but it was for me as a viewer who has sort of been like, okay, I know why everybody's afraid of Joel, but why is everybody afraid of Joel?
Yeah, I guess retroactively, I didn't hear this complaint from anybody really at the time, but Joel kind of does just become suddenly a lot more like violent and scary in the game, because the big thing here is you're not controlling Joel. So every time he kills somebody, it's going to feel a lot more violent, because video games are like a medium where we're desensitized to the violence. We're desensitized to what the character does, because for us it sometimes becomes very gamey. We're pointing a gun and pew pew. But every time somebody dies in this show, I think they're going to lend a lot more weight to it. Which kind of transitions into my point that I wanted to make sure I made. This feels like, to me, Last of Us Part 2, Part 1. And I know that sounds stupid, but what I mean is Last of Us 2 put a lot more weight on each individual decision, each individual action that your character takes. When you kill somebody in Last of Us Part 2, it's slow, and the characters' animations and sounds are really upsetting. They want you to feel the weight of every single death, and that's something that Part 1 never really did or could do because of what the medium was capable of in 2013. But this show feels retroactively like it's trying to supplant the ideals of Part 2 into the story of Part 1. You know, which is interesting because they released a PS5 remake called Part 1 recently. But that didn't change this, you know, because narratively it's the same. But this show, this feels like the retelling that Neil Druckmann would want to tell based on how he took Part 2, you know?
Yeah, definitely. I would agree with that. And I think that, you know, like you said, it wasn't the messaging of the first game wasn't necessarily like the impact. The messaging of the first game was the characters. Whereas in the second game, it becomes a little bit more about the themes. I mean, the first game has the theme of like survival and endurance and you know, new life, basically, born from cataclysm. But the second game, obviously, the themes are a lot more focused on more broader concepts. Like, it's not so much about it's not about Joel and Ellie. It's about revenge and death. And I would agree that I think the tone from that Part 2 carries over into the show a little bit more.
Yeah.
And it's definitely the original creator's intention. I will also say that I am still feeling a little bit sad that the spores are no longer the issue at hand. That it's now like it spreads through like the tendrils. I think that is something that makes The Last of Us so unique is the style of the zombies. Fungus and mold spread through airborne spores usually, so it's just kind of a bummer that that's no longer the case. But from a technical standpoint, I can understand why they didn't do that, because they don't want their characters wearing masks all the time, because that would just be like a nightmare for many reasons. But
so it's, yeah, because there was like weird fungus coming out of the mouths of the zombies.
Yeah.
That confused me at first, because I don't know if that was a change we knew ahead of time or what, but I really didn't expect that.
Well, it was. They said we're not doing spores in the show. It's through a different method, and you know, I mean, I didn't personally know that until after the fact, because I was like, there were these weird scenes and weird parts where like Joel like moved a cabinet and you saw the like dust floating in the air, and it like reminded you like, oh my god, the spores. And then there's another scene where they're underground or they're in a building, and Joel shines his flashlight, and it looks like he's looking at spores because there's all these little
I
floating
got all
particles.
nervous.
Yeah,
it's like, Joel,
I'm
put
like,
your mask
okay,
on.
I know, and it's, you know, people who play the game know that that's usually when the characters put their masks on. So they like kind of like referenced it, but then it was all about the tendrils from the mouth, which is obviously like biting, which is a very standard zombie type of beat. But also, you know, the zombies are still very different in this show.
Yeah. I mean, in the original, they bite as well. It could be spores or bite. They just got rid of spores in this one, I guess.
Right.
But I don't know. I don't want to dwell on this too much, because I feel like we could talk about this for hours. But I'll just say my impressions thus far, very positive. I'm excited to see, you know, this felt intense, because that first chunk of the story is just a hard one to tell. It's very intense. It's very draining. I sobbed during a certain part. Like, it took a lot out of me. But The Last of Us Part 1 has a lot of, you know, positive character interaction scenes that I'm looking forward to seeing. And I'm way more curious now where this will end, like how much of the game is going to be in this season, because I am probably like twice as invested as I was before it came out, because this version of this narrative is just one I look forward to seeing way more than I realized I was going to.
Yeah, I feel the same. I feel very positive about it. I'm excited to see the rest of the season. I'm excited to see more Pedro. And everybody else too. Sorry.
I'm curious to see Bella Ramsey's performance evolve because there wasn't a ton of Ellie in this first episode.
Yeah.
So I'm excited. I'm excited to see how that character grows.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
So, well, I guess we should probably call that an episode.
Guess we should.
We're going to be back every week talking about this show for the next 8 weeks, probably. But we'll be back next week for sure with impressions of Fire Emblem Engage, right? Wait, you're right.
We will be engaging in playing a new Fire Emblem game. Kelly will be playing it with gritted teeth.
We'll be engaging in tax fraud.
Oh.
Sorry, I don't know why I had this.
No, I'm excited for Fire Emblem.
Fire Emblem Engage your parking brake.
Fire Emblem Get engaged and then get married.
Fire Emblem Kelly is engaged.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. What if instead of a ring, somebody was just like, "Will you marry me?" and handed you Fire Emblem Engage?
I would simply say no.
That'd be the end of that relationship. Sorry.
My question is there are there social components of this Fire Emblem game, or is it like back to the no?
It's less than 3 houses, but like still quite a bit, it seems like. Well, because there's no like school mechanics.
I know, but
I've heard it compared.
A handsome rogue riding a wyvern that I can't marry, then.
Oh, I don't know about marriage. I don't know, but
I'm done.
The impressions are very positive, but we'll know tomorrow. Well, if you're listening to this time of release, the reviews are out, so I'm very curious to see what those are like. But the previews that came out last week were extremely positive, and I've heard it compared a lot to Awakening in its like structure. So that makes me very excited.
I love Awakening.
So
okay.
All right. Well, let's wrap it up. We'll be back next week with Fire Emblem Engage impressions, as well as Last of Us Episode 2 review.
Part 1.
Last of Us Part 2, Part 1, Episode 2 review from HBO Max or HBO. I watched it on
Home
HBO
Box
Max.
Office Entertainment.
You don't have TV, do you?
No, I watched it on HBO Max.
Yeah. Part of me is like, I don't know. I just feel funny watching it on an app the second it comes out. I'm like, what if I skip to the ending and see the spoilers? Then I'm like, why would I do that? That'd be stupid.
Or then you pause and you're like, oh my God, I'm behind everybody else because I had to go to the bathroom.
Well, I started 30 minutes late because I was playing the Stanley Parable.
Oh, well, I started exactly at 9 o'clock on dot Eastern Standard.
I'll probably do that next week.
Sometimes HBO, with big releases, their servers can't really handle it very well, but it pulled through last night, so.
I'm proud of... Well, maybe... No, I don't want to say that. Maybe it's not performing quite as well as... Or maybe they were just prepared for how well it was going to perform.
Yeah, they learned their lesson from House of the Dragon.
Well, I'm going to go back to my House of the Cat. I'm going to go feed...
Me too.
I'm going to go feed my cat.
Me too.
Meow.
Meow. Thanks for listening, everybody. Have a great week. Send Pedro my love if you see him anywhere.
Please. Why is there a question mark on week?
I don't know. Well, if they're listening during the weekend, then it's kind of like, have a great week sounds awful. Like, you don't want to hear that on a Saturday.
Kelly, the theme song is rolling. You have to end it.
Okay, thanks for listening, everybody. Bye.